We're live.
Hello.
Hello, everyone who watches. Um,
Literally everyone.
yeah. Hi to you, and hi to you. I see you back there,
The two of
washing
us.
dishes, listening to us in the background. Oh my gosh. Yeah, crazy week. Crazy week. A lot of stuff. We got into a family fight, me and you. I tried to convince you to watch She-Hulk. And you verbally abused me for about 30 minutes. And I said, look, I was just asking if you could.
It wasn't like that. He like literally sent me a text saying, "Watch She-Hulk."
No, I
And
said
then
could.
and then you followed it up like a few minutes later. Okay, that was like a couple hours later or the next day. Like, did you finish it or did you watch it? Like, I have all this time in the
Well,
world to watch
I had
something I don't even want to watch.
I hadn't heard from you. The last thing you said was I think you sent me an emoji or something. I don't know.
It wasn't a family fight.
You weren't
And
very
if it
talkative,
was,
so
I won.
I thought we were fighting.
Dude, it's been a week. This week was a little rough,
Ooh.
but that's okay.
I took the last little sip of that and now my lips look like I got like a little bit of lipstick on. Tomato
Yep,
juice. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Agreed. It's been a week. I'm exhausted.
I'm sure you are. You were up late last night.
Yes, I was.
Wait, what time did you actually finish?
Um, 11 around 11:30, I finished my work, and then
What time did
what
I stop talking? No.
like 10:45.
I was out.
Yeah, you were just out. I was like, oh, she hasn't said anything for a while. Tam, are you there? And then I didn't hear anything. I was like, she's out. So I hung up.
Yeah, I fell asleep on the phone. My bad.
That's okay. That's okay. What's worse is like I was like, you know what? I really wanted to play Guild Wars because you got me this new mouse. So thank you very much for
Ooh, it
purchasing
looks
this for
nice.
my birthday. It's really nice. Yeah, I put the purple on it.
You're welcome.
It's the color of royalty. Um, but yeah, I was looking forward to actually using this mouse playing games. So like I ended up not going to bed till like 12:30 because I jumped on Guild Wars and played for a little bit just to get used to the
Nice.
control. But yeah, I'm still tired because I woke up at 6 this morning because I can't sleep past 6 a.m. I have to get up. It's just my internal clock is just like up. So, but yeah, I'm still exhausted and doing good there, Clark. But sorry. I have to give him positive encouragement when he scratches the scratching post, and I have to admonish him if he scratches the couch. So he's being a good cat right now. Good boy. But yeah, crazy week. A lot of stuff going on. She-Hulk came out. I made a video earlier in the week about the IMDb review stuff, and I was like, I just realized I took my ring off so I could oil my beard. Put that back on. Um, I made that video talking about the review bombing. I'm surprised at how slow that story's been getting picked up because I'm starting to see more and more people talk about that. Uh, about them inflating the numbers when there's clearly like a lot more positive reviews on IMDb that just aren't being accounted for. So people are starting to wise up to that. So good for them on that stuff. And then the show came out the next day. I had no idea that it actually was launching. And Chris Gore. I don't know if do you know who Chris Gore is from Film Threat? So okay, like I've been watching geek stuff, like going all the way back to like Tech TV, G4 TV stuff back in the day on cable television, back when there were still like small channels that kind of like could get away with a whole bunch of crap. And Chris Gore was on there, and he would review like independent films he would look at old school like VHS tapes. He would like it was like Chris Recommends was his like little corner that he had, and he still does that to this day on his YouTube channel. And so I respect his opinion, and he says that She-Hulk is a good show, and of course he's seen all four. He's seen not all four, but he's seen the first 4 episodes of She-Hulk. So I'm thinking, maybe it's a lot better than I think it is. But he also said that the first episode is not indicative of the other 3 episodes that come after this. But I'm starting to think that Chris Gore might have been wrong because so many people are blowing up on that show. Have you seen any clips from this?
No, because it doesn't interest me at
It doesn't
all.
interest you at all, like
Yeah.
not even like in passing, like browsing stuff.
Yeah.
So, but oh my gosh, it's like some really really cringy stuff. Um, did you watch any like how much of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have you watched?
Like all the
Yeah,
movies? Most of the movies.
most of the movies,
Yeah, most of the movies.
like especially like
I
the
haven't
Avenger
really been
films.
following like the last maybe 5 years or so. I haven't been as into it
Hmm.
because it's so convoluted. I don't even know. I
Well,
can't
yeah,
even keep
and
up
and
with it.
it's worse now because like the movies don't make sense unless you watch all the TV shows that they have on
Oh
Disney
gosh, yeah,
Plus.
that's when I started to like when they had that Marvel Shield come out. It was around that time. And after that point, I didn't really follow because then I felt like I was too behind to really
Oh,
know
okay,
what was
okay, okay.
going on, and so I kinda just slowly walked away from that universe.
Yeah, well, yeah, that so when the Marvel Shield show started coming on, and the nice thing about that was it was like happening in parallel. So the stuff in it was almost like the stuff in the movies affected the show more so than the show affected the movies. So you could watch the TV series and it's like its own like little, you know, isolated storyline with events happening, and then the movies would happen, but there was never a reference back to the TV show. There was never it never cross referenced itself. It stayed isolated, which was really nice because you could I can see how people felt would feel that way, how you would feel that way, but it was you didn't necessarily have to watch it. Now it's like you have to watch all of this crap, because otherwise you're like, why is Wanda Maximoff looking for her children? Like she had children, and you're like, well, you got to watch the Wanda Vision series to see that she had children in that series, but they weren't real. She made them up. It was like the kids didn't exist, but then she's like, because the multiverse exists, she starts scanning the multiverse to try and find her kids, and that's what leads her down the whole Doctor Strange mom movie and her arc as a villain. But yeah, that's yeah, it's annoying as hell. So with the yeah, I'm not surprised you have no interest in seeing that. I feel like a lot of people are feeling that
Mm.
way. But yeah, Chris Gore said it was Chris Gore said it was good, and but the stuff that I'm seeing, it doesn't look good. Like the CG still looks like, my main complaint is like the CG for like her face looks fine. Um it's a little
It's
bit
just
softer, but
mm.
women's features are a lot softer. Like we look identical, me and you, but I have a beard and my features are a little bit more like angular, and yours are a little bit softer. You know, you're like the girl version of
I'm
me,
the
and
female version.
I'm what you would look like as a man.
I'll say this is true because I use one of those, face filters where you can look like a man, and it's true.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I did that on I can't remember what one, but I did the same thing, and I was like, ooh, damn.
No, well, I never understood when people said, like, "Oh, I can see how you guys are related." I'd look at you like, "There's no way, we look totally different." But no,
Yeah,
the we look pretty similar.
yeah, you're way more brown than I am, so
Yeah, I was
I'm
blessed with
I'm
the
working on it,
darkness.
but of
You'll
course
get there one day.
I've got like natural sunlight and then 2 ring lights like blowing me out. You're not brown at all. But yeah, and I think that's the big problem with Disney right now is they're not focusing on individual projects. They're trying to build out. They're like hyper focused on this wide angle vision of an expanded universes. So the MCU is not just the movies anymore; it's the movies and then the Disney Plus shows. And because their vision is so widespread, it's all just garbage and crap because there's not enough talent in the talent pool to sufficiently build these storylines out. And instead of focusing all your resources and putting out like one or two, maybe three good movies in a year, we're getting multiple movies and several television shows, and the resources are just spread out all across. And it's not like they have different production schedules because the volume room that they use in like the Mandalorian, the LED screens and stuff like that, with the volumetric lighting and stuff like that, like that's incredible technology and it works for a TV series. For some inexplicable reason, they decided to use that in a movie on Thor: Love and Thunder on a wide scale, which makes all the sets look super cheap because it's flat out to a certain point, or it looks like there's almost like you can tell where the cutoff is and the screen begins. And it's like, okay, well, you guys obviously use this way too much because you're having to strike it down and build it back up in a way that is cheap and easy for you to do, but you're doing a terrible job of making it look like they're on another planet. It just looks like they're on a soundstage somewhere, which yeah, I don't know if you remember like the movies from the 50s when they started going to like the bigger and bigger sets. Like you could tell that they were on a stage, like a sound stage, filming it. Like, oh, actually, great example. Grease 2. You remember Grease 2? Did you ever watch
Mhm.
that one? Like that, like it looked like a Broadway show because all the musical numbers happened on these like little things. It wasn't tight. It didn't look at the same quality as Grease looked. When they went to musical numbers, the camera angles were nice and low. They were dynamic. They captured a lot more stuff. Whereas Grease 2, everything just seemed like super static. You could tell it was a stage, and it just took you completely out of the movie. And it's like my Grease 2 is actually a really good movie, but some of the stuff that they do just to set up the scenes takes you out of the movie, and you can't get lost in the story. And I feel like that that's the feeling that I get when I watch scenes from Thor: Love and Thunder. Whereas Bullet Train, I saw that a couple of weeks ago. I freaking love that movie. They used those volumetric screens on that movie, but it's outside of the train. Everything's set inside the train, so it's just used for like scenery going by in the background. Some people complain about the graphics. Some of the graphics look kind of they look a little too cartoony in some areas, but it's supposed to be a light, fun film. You're not supposed to take it seriously, and man, that was a fun ride. Like that's the it's been a while since I've really enjoyed watching Brad Pitt and then a cast of characters just really go all out. So, but yeah, that was a really fun movie. I think it's a neat technology, but it needs to be used. They need to get a little bit more creative in how they use it so that you're not like, oh well, that looks fake type of thing. But yeah, that's a big problem with Disney, and that's not just isolated to the MCU. You're seeing that shit on Star Wars as well with their stuff. But the thing with Andor, the show coming out, what excited me about Andor, it wasn't the fact that it was about Cassian Andor, the Juan Solo character from Rogue One, and that was a great character, but he dies at the end of that film. So it's like, okay, so we're gonna get a prequel about him and how he was such an absolute terrible person before, because he became a good person in Rogue One, right? He was willing to assassinate her father, use her to get to her father and assassinate him. And he had his own motives. He was willing to use people to get to hit the means justify the ends, right? Or the end justifies the means is the way that saying goes. I said it like a moron, but the other way.
Be kind to
But
yourself, sir.
yeah, but oh man, it was like freezing down here, and now I'm like too hot. There, play with that, Clark. But he's he wasn't a good person, and then he sort of finds himself and finds that there's something bigger. Um, there's a bigger cause for him in that series. So I don't understand why they wanted to make an Andor TV series in the first place, but they were making these huge, beautiful sets, kind of like old school Star Wars style. I was like, you know what, that actually might be pretty cool. I'm kind of excited about that. But that show's been in development for fucking ever, like forever. It's been in development. They announced it not too long after Rogue One came out, you know, and that's fucking years gone by now.
Mhm.
So, um, I'm not excited about this because the more and more these actors, well, yeah, actors, actresses, and the show's creator and writer are coming, the things that they're coming out and talking about don't excite me at all. Like they wrote a show basically to uh, analogize the Imperial Army and uh, Emperor Palpatine to Trump and the Trump administration. And it's like, okay, well, that's even worse because the show's like he's out of office. He's been out of office for 2.5 years now, and you guys are still pushing forward with this show that's topical about Trump and the Trump presidency. Like, this is not exciting. And then we
That
get more
sucks my
information.
brain when they do that.
Yeah, yeah,
You cannot escape when they try to put, like, real world issues or what they feel are real world issues into
yeah,
media, entertainment.
yeah. If you can't get it out within, 8 to 10 months, if you can't get it within 8 to 10 months of the topic, I feel like you've missed the mark. And here we are 2.5 years after the administration, we're still getting this crap. So yeah, let's pull this up. This is the most recent article. I sent this to you.
Mhm.
Um, Andor actor Dennis Go claims, is it Dennis or Denise? Because they say
I
actor, but she's an actress. I don't.
I thought it was the niece, but I don't know.
Yeah, Denise Go. Well, like the whole like actor thing. But yeah, Denise Go claims her character arc will address gender politics in Star Wars. Like some of the most badass Jedi in Star Wars are females.
Well, that was
Uh,
the thing when I was reading this article, when I was reading it, I ended up reading a few more because I didn't realize there was issues with gender politics in Star Wars. Like, it wasn't ever something that just because there were so many amazing women
hmm
in the movies, I just didn't realize we were underrepresented, I guess, or what people would feel that we were underrepresented.
Yeah, no, right. Like we had Princess Leia. Princess Leia was freaking badass. She didn't take shit from anybody. She wasn't like the damsel in distress. Yeah,
Yeah.
they had to go and rescue her, but the Empire captured her because she was working for the rebels. It wasn't like some mustachioed villain like came along and then like swooped in, grabbed her and tied her to a railroad tracks or something like that. And we're like waiting for Luke Skywalker to show up and save her at the last minute. That's not what that's not her character. She was a fighter. She was willing to fight. She was willing to, she didn't bend or break. They tortured her. And in A New Hope, they don't show it, but they allude to the fact that they tortured her to get information about where the Death Star plans were and where she sent them.
And wasn't that after they destroyed her planet?
Um, yes, yeah, because they tried to be nice
Yeah,
about
like
it,
she
and
lost
then
everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, she's a flipping badass, and I totally burned my tongue on that tea. Um,
Okay, so this is the other thing that I liked a lot about
yeah,
Leia because I rewatched those movies recently. Was when Luke came to rescue her. Like she was the leader from that point on. Like she
yeah,
was the one that kind of led them out of that situation, and I like
mhm,
that. But
yeah,
like she
yeah,
was intelligent, she was feisty, she was fierce.
yeah,
Even when he came in, like Luke came in as a stormtrooper, she wasn't. intimidated. She wasn't afraid. She was like, "Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Like just attitude.
Yeah. She doesn't know that that's a hero, you know? She's
Right.
automatically making fun of the dude who's coming in to take her probably to her next torture session, you know? It's there are so many good things about the original like even Han. Like Han is so fucking funny when he's like, yeah, is everything all right up there? We had a energy reading." He's like, "Oh, yeah. No, everything's fine. Just fine."
Yeah,
And when
that
he
scene when
can't
he's
talk
on
to
the
his
console talking to them. Yeah, so funny. Then he just shoots it out of front.
it's so good.
Like
It's
such
so
a
good.
meathead.
It and we don't have
But like
any
a lovable
yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah, like, all the characters are, like they're so good, they're so well thought out, and they're true to themselves throughout the entire series. Nobody ever veers away or, changes things out. Leia never, Leia never takes a step back and becomes second fiddle to Luke or Han. She runs the she runs the Alliance, like, she's second only to Mon Mothma. Like Mon Mothma is clearly like the overarching leader, but Leia is right up there. She's one of the elite. Mon Mothma's the lady with the short brown hair and the white like the white tunic that plays the Death Star plans. She has a bigger part later. I don't know if you know all the names to the side characters and stuff like that.
No.
But sorry, I have this stupid desk and it's annoying me the way I have it set up now, so I'm thinking about just tearing it down and building a new one. But yeah, no, there really was never an issue like that, and this whole article just cracks me up. So Go spoke with Total Film about upcoming Star Wars series and made it clear the show, like much of Disney Star Wars productions, is all about injecting modern woke identity politics into it. I love the way that John F. Trent like words some of the stuff. He sounds a little saltier every time he has to write an article about this crap. She says, as a woman in that world, for her to advance in any way, she has to be like 10 times better than anyone else in that room. And that felt really relevant to everything we're going through right now, she declared. I don't like I don't know about you, Tamara, but I typically have to be about 10 times better than everyone else around me for me to get any sort of pay increase or promotion in any way shape in my jobs. Like I have to outperform the status quo is not good enough for me to get a promotion or get a raise. I have to exceed what my company expects for me, what my manager expects for me in order to get a promotion. Have you like do you have you felt like that? Do you feel like you have to perform 10 times better where other people just sort of skate by?
No. I mean, I think just in general, I work harder. I mean, not that I work harder, but I've always known that life was going to be work. Like, if I wanted to achieve something, if I wanted to do something, it wasn't like it's hardly ever simple for anyone. Like, there's a struggle for everyone in trying
Mm,
to get where it is that you want to go. As
yeah.
far as like men and women, I feel like I don't know. I don't feel that disconnect. I feel like we're all trying to get to. So I don't feel like one has an advantage over the other.
Mhm.
Or at least I haven't felt that way. I mean, I can't tell you I've never felt like I've been discriminated against, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
honestly, I don't know. It doesn't affect my productivity, it doesn't affect my work ethic, and I don't feel like it's because of my gender.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
no,
don't know though.
same.
Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I've just been lucky. I don't know though.
No,
Yeah.
because I feel like your experience is the status quo. Like I feel like your experience is is common across what I've seen multiple women write and talk about and speak about, and things that Bethany has told me um, with regards to how she's treated. Now, yeah, and I've experienced like some discrimination. Like I get people tend to think that because I'm like, well, it's funny because Like it didn't really bother me, but in the Navy, uh, was honestly like the first time that I experienced any sort of like I guess sort of like a racial bias towards me because we're part Mexican, you know, and I literally like I was cleaning these pipes in the Navy just it was our area and I'm trying to get it all clean because we're having a field day. The submarine has to be absolutely spotless, so we're like crawling in and out of everywhere. So I'm cleaning these pipes and I got them all nice and clean. And my chief comes down and he goes, "Huh, I would have I would have figured you would have been able to polish these up a little bit brighter on account that you're a Mexican and all. You guys really like chrome." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" I was just like, no, no, not at all." Um, and yeah, no, it's just like that kind of like took me aback because it was the first time that somebody ever said anything uh specific, like made a comment like that specifically to me about me being a Mexican in that way, like somebody that I didn't really know, like me and the chief. That was like my third day on the boat, so like I hadn't known him that long, and that was just that caught me off guard. But yeah, I mean, people expect for one, when I fill out an application and I show up, I feel like, and mom's experienced this too. When I show up, I people are like, "Whoa, so you're Travis, such and such," and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Well, you don't look Mexican." Yeah, it's like, okay, well, but I am a Mexican, and mom would show up, and mom got turned down for our mom is white, but she would show up to interviews and they would immediately dismiss her because they thought the only reason she got asked in for an interview is they thought she was bilingual because of our last name. And that stuff would happen. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've had
don't like.
more like incidences of like being half Mexican than being a woman because everyone always assumes I speak Spanish and I
Yeah,
don't. Just so
yeah.
FYI. But like you don't like it's like every place I go to, everywhere, it's like almost and I've gotten used to it obviously now, but like there's this disappointment that comes with, oh, like like and then
Hmm.
that's the follow-up questions like, well, why don't you know? Or why didn't you learn? Or aren't don't you feel and it's just like, dude, don't go like I
Yeah.
can't help you. I'm sorry. Like, don't make
You
me
know,
feel bad about it.
yeah, it's just like it was the way we were raised, and that's that's fine. Like our dad speaks uh he's fluent in Spanish. He's fluent in English, and but he had this, and a lot of like our upbringing and us not being bilingual um, is sort of a direct result of some of the difficulties that he had when he started going to school in the States. He struggled in school, and he um, there wasn't really any sort of like there was no real help. Like nowadays, there's ESL, like there's uh, English speech uh, language therapists and stuff like that that come into schools to help bilingual kids learn English and do stick with the system. Or in some cases, in some schools down in Texas, they just have straight up like Spanish textbooks for kids just to make it a little bit easier. But they really try to bridge that gap by helping them learn the native language of America, which is English, not British English, but bad English, poor grammar English. So, but yeah, like yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's strange because I do feel like um, have missed out on opportunities because the environment that I work in is predominantly female. So like most of the managers in my department, when I first started working for the company that I'm working for now, most of the managers were female. Most of the staff project leads and stuff, those things, the people that were in positions of power were all female. And at a certain point, when you work as hard as we do as individuals, you start to feel like, okay, well, like I'm doing everything that I can to make a name for myself and improve my position. Is it, am I being discriminated against? Because you get in a low point, like you become mentally weak. You find that you start to blame everything but yourself in those situations. And for a little bit there, I thought I was being personally discriminated against because of me being just a man, and a primarily female workplace. But ultimately, that wasn't necessarily the case. It was, um, I wasn't taking care of myself, and my work was suffering, and I needed to get some things uh, lined up and improve the quality of the work that I was putting out. And once I did that, then things started to change, and I started to get promoted. I started to get jobs that I was applying for, and that's that was a life lesson for myself in a unique work environment that I wasn't used to being a part of. But I feel like these people just I feel like people that feel this way don't understand how to be successful in a competitive world. You know, the actress then detailed, because she's a woman, viewers will end up cheering for her just because she's a woman before they realize she's a psycho. Um, isn't that kind of like every woman? Like we always cheer on like certain like characters or like women, and then all of a sudden we find out that like they're just absolutely nuts, like Daenerys Targaryen.
I know, what a disappointment.
Right? But the okay,
But still.
yeah. Still, I could go off on Daenerys Targaryen and her heel turn there at the end, but
I love watching powerful women. Like, I mean,
yeah.
just anyone who's very skilled, it's nice. But yeah, there is something to seeing a woman that's powerful and intelligent and just
Oh yeah,
kicking
yeah,
ass.
yeah. Have you ever seen the Alien movies?
I saw the first one.
You saw the first one? That's a good one.
Mhm.
That's a really good one. The first and second one, Sigourney Weaver, just absolute like badass. She's like, so what's neat about the first Alien movie is her character that she plays was originally meant to be a male character, but and Sigourney Weaver was supposed to be another character uh, in the in the series, and then something happened and they decided to just put her in the part, so they didn't really rewrite the role that much. But she's solid, like she's freaking awesome in that whole thing. And that's a scary movie. Like I love that movie because you think Chris Christopherson is like, people don't know this nowadays, but at the time that that movie came out, Chris Christopherson, who plays the captain in that, and she's the second in command, uh he was a huge star. Like he was the big name draw for that movie. There was he had been in so much other stuff. He was a country music star and everything. He's phenomenal. And when he gets killed, like you're just like nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. If he's dead, nobody everyone's gonna get it. And it's such a good movie. It's so good. And yeah, like that character is just so well done. And Sigourney Weaver does just such a damn good job of playing that role. And the character itself wasn't rewritten, but she still plays it as a woman. So she's not playing it as a man, or she's not playing it as a woman being a man. She's just playing the character straight. And that's the way you should do it. You shouldn't try to if she had tried to inject some sort of like masculinity into it, I don't think uh, I don't think it would have worked. But she's a talented actress, and she knew exactly how to approach that, and she freaking nails it. And she's so good in that movie. But oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, let me get back to the thing, because I love those movies. But she explained, it's a clever thing to do, is it? To show you how hard she has to work. It kind of brings you in to feel cheerleadery for her, and then you'll be like, she's a psycho, so be careful supporting her. So she's literally just ruined the heel turn on her character. So when we watch this, we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, she's pretty awesome, and then the show reveals that she's a psychopath, and then we're all going to be like, but she just ruined her own like character turn. Like, why do
Right.
they do this? Why do actors do this? So yeah, this like no, this is I'm not excited about this. I don't like this like constant
I
pushing to yeah, what were you gonna say?
I mean, it sounds like she's really excited to play this character, which is good. Like that's exciting.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm glad she really feels for this character, but it's this sort of like in your face like the women nowadays, the women that say stuff like this or push ideals like this, people that write shows like She-Hulk, um, they they're almost they're so far removed from the feminist movements of the 1950s and 60s and 70s where those women were like literally like incapable of doing things in society just because they were women. You know, like women had the right to vote long before a woman could, a married woman could go to a dealership and buy a fucking car. You know, like even our mom dealt with that at some point early in actually when she went to go get the Oldsmobile. I think before they ended up purchasing the Oldsmobile, mom had gone to a dealership to get a vehicle, and the sales rep wouldn't talk to her and told her to come back with her husband. And she was just like, and like that was shocking to us growing up. Like that shit just didn't really happen when we were growing up as kids. That was just kind of like man, we've come a long way even just in the few short years that we've been alive, you know. And
Yeah.
women, uh oh man, it's really like women were frowned upon for working, and which was crazy because I think a lot of that animus, like women having difficulty finding jobs in the workforce, a lot of that came from uh, women taking up the factory positions or just filling in the jobs that men weren't able to do because men were drafted and sent off to go fight in a war. Even up through the 60s, like men were getting drafted and pulled into conflicts. So the only uh, workers that were available were women. And that was constant through the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And if that hadn't happened, I don't necessarily like that was all good progress, but then where the conflict comes in is when those men stop fighting and they come back home and they're incapable of finding jobs, and then those women get forced out so that a man can have his job back. And I think that's where we as a society really fucked up, because for decades women had proven that they're incapable of holding their own and doing just as good a job as a man could do in a lot of these industries where they were suddenly just being pushed out. But um yeah, and then the 70s and 80s, like there was some shit, but there's always been progress but that doesn't mean that there hasn't been resistance. But for people to say that it's like that today, I don't see it, and it doesn't seem like you see that either.
I'm sure there's pockets of it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Oh yeah.
sure it exists still.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
had
yeah.
situations where like I've gone in to look at a car or something, or been looking to purchase some higher price, and if I'm with, a man or a gentleman or whatever, they're talking to him, and I'm like, it's my money. It's not, like
Right.
I'm the one that's, yeah, like my name's gonna be on it. Like, talk to me.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a misunderstanding. I don't think it's to disregard my presence or anything. I
Mhm.
think they're just assuming. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, but is that like is that That's is that a
Gotcha.
miscalculation on the part of the individual that the sales rep at the dealership, or is that um or is that just outright like sexism, you know? Like
I
how
don't
like
know. I think it's just for me, I think it's just a misconception, miscommunication.
yeah,
But who knows? Maybe
right.
it is. Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
is a
think so.
dig at me because I'm a woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I've never taken it that way though, so maybe because from my perspective, I just never saw it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, I agree. It's just very yeah, I think because they try to push this in every single show that they're putting out, it's
Yeah, it's a little hard
it's
to
wearing
relate
thin.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard to relate to. It's gosh, it reminds me so that like going back and looking at it, this the movie the movie isn't entirely accurate, but it's very, very powerful. I don't know if you have ever seen it or if you recall it. It's called If These Walls Could Talk. It was like an HBO made movie. It had Demi
I
Moore.
think I saw it in the 90s when it
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
came out or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was a very, very powerful movie, and that sort of like for a long time uh sort of formed my opinion is with when it comes to like reproductive rights and stuff like and things like that. Obviously, my my perspective has grown since then, so I have essentially a more nuanced view on it. I still think it should be available, safe but rare. But the way the way it's been treated lately, it's more like a it's treated more like birth control than it is a um, than the way it was like originally intended. But it's things like that. Like there wasn't at that time there wasn't like a plethora or dirge of movies or TV shows addressing that topic. But so when that came out, I feel like the impact of that movie, that miniseries, was greater felt on the masses as a whole. Whereas now it's like you can't fucking turn a corner without being slapped in the face with a pussy hat. So that was a thing a few years ago. Women like
Oh.
marching with big labia hats. It was very strange.
What a time.
What a time to be alive. Okay, so let's go on to man, this is crazy. I would say that we both grew up sort of like Alec Baldwin fans, like especially like Baldwin fans, like as
Mhm.
kids, right in the 90s.
Yeah,
Um,
they're great. Or yeah, they were fun to
y-
watch growing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of them, from
Yeah.
yeah, Stephen Baldwin being in the Flintstones, and he did other stuff. Like there's, um, yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Alec Baldwin, um, what was it? Bill Baldwin. There was another one that was in a TV
Billy
series.
Baldwin. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. um, Adam Baldwin was in the Total Recall TV series that was really, really good. At least I thought so. But yeah, like the Baldwins have been a huge part of our life. So um, it was really unfortunate to hear sort of the personal political feelings of some of these people, and this one hurt because I enjoy watching him from anything from like Beetlejuice to Darkman to even The Cat in the Hat, which is objectively a terrible movie, but I enjoyed his character because he's like trying to get in with the mom, and then you find out he's just like bald, like fat guy that's like really sad life, and I thought that was just a really fun part for him to play. But to see his sort of fall from in the limelight has been really sad on the part of I think our childhood. Would you agree with that? Like sort of the turn he's taken the last few years.
Yeah, there's been some kind of wild stories about him, like that kind of were like, oh, I wish I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, from him. Yeah, him
But he's
chewing out
still
his
in
daughter.
yeah, but he's still really enjoyable to watch. he's very talented.
It's so confounding. Yeah,
Yeah.
so confounding. So,
That's why I wish we just knew as little about these people as possible.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like, I probably would have enjoyed Russell Crowe's, like, acting a little bit more if he wasn't going around talking about how women were cattle for him to just herd and keep and use until he, like, eventually moves on from them. That was such a disgusting quote. I was just like,
I must
uh,
have missed that one.
oh man, no, he was, yeah, Russell Crowe is like, he was such a, his personal life and some of the comments that he made really put me off of him, and which was disappointing because it was John, was it, oh, what was the name of that movie where he played, it had Denzel Washington in it, and he's like a virtual, he's like an amalgamation of a whole bunch of criminals, and but he's like a digital construct, and they somehow end up like printing him and making him like like a living 3D person, and he's like a nano. He's like made up of a bunch of nanorobots, and that was a really good movie. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I'm gonna pull this article up real quick here, and so Alec Baldwin shot his uh, director of photography, Elena Hutchins. Is that with her? I can't. Oh my gosh! I hope I got her name right. But she he just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper into this hole, and I wish he would just, oh, Helena, not Elena, Helena Hutchins, that's her name right there. Um, I wish he would just shut up and let the investigation go on, because then people would probably forget about this completely. But what did you I sent you this article, I pulled up another one. What did you because there's a couple of things going on with him. What are your thoughts on this? I'm curious.
You know what? I looked into it, and it's really hard to point the finger at any one person. Obviously, it's easy to point the finger at him because he was the one handling the gun.
Mhm.
But then when you look into, I mean, there's other people that handle the guns to make sure that they're safe, and, safety director, I believe they have, and there was someone
Mhm.
else under him, and it's like no one's owning up to the fact is how did a live round get into the gun,
Right.
and there's only so much. I don't know. It's really hard to know who to share the blame with because as him as an actor, like, yeah, we know he has anger issues.
Mhm.
Um, but how would he know if he was handing a loaded gun or not? I don't because apparently they're not supposed to be loaded. There's not supposed to be live runs on the set.
Mhm.
Or so I don't know, but at the same time, I wish he would stop speaking about it. You're talking
Yeah.
about someone's life. And it seems like it's an ongoing situation, like, just let it rest. But at the same time, maybe he feels the need to defend himself
Mhm.
because his reputation's taking a hit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, it's just a really sad situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that we've talked about this over the phone a couple of times, especially when it first happened, and, yeah, that's
It's
it
hard
it
to put any blame for someone's death on one person alone that's
yes,
I don't know, it's
I
just
I understand that, yeah, I can understand that sentiment. Coming from my perspective where I have a background in firearms, um, a more extensive background than you do just because I was in the
for
military,
sure. Yeah, I
um,
don't know anything about firearms. I know
so
very little. I know the basic.
yeah. That's that's
Which is
alright.
always check your gun, but
Yeah.
I don't like, is that something that they teach actors to do?
Yes.
'Cause to me, I think of an actor as just someone who shows up on the scene, does their mark,
Mhm.
and goes through the actions, like, I
Mhm.
really don't feel like they put a whole lot of responsibility on the actors themselves,
No,
but I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you with my background in acting, because I can come at this from 2 different perspectives, because I've been an actor, I've done stunt work on, on network television shows, I've done stunt work on small, uh, short films, and, no, as an actor, even though you've had all these other people check the weapons before you get a hold of it, you yourself check it, and, uh, before Will Smith slapped his career into oblivion, he um, he was known for this. So like if anytime he was on a movie set where he was involved with shooting or there were guns involved, he always checked his guns first because that's how he was trained. Like they go through on a good production set. If you want to be believable, these actors put themselves into the role, and especially the armor, the uh, these folks like anytime that there's a gun involved, whether it's a prop, whether it's actual, you're shooting squibs or you're out on a range, you go through a safety training course. The gun range that I go to, there's a safety video that I have to watch before I can even shoot on the range. And that's just a refresher to make sure that I'm doing everything safe. And I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it because my memory is not perfect. I don't remember everything that, I don't necessarily remember everything that I'm supposed to. And at least I take that assumption that I'm not going to remember everything, so I don't mind watching the videos over again or going through safety training because you can't just assume that uh, a gun is handed to you and someone tells you it's safe that it is safe because you know God forbid that person has a grudge against you or against somebody that you're supposed to be pointing the gun at and they loaded it with a live round. Who knows? I'm not saying that that's what happened in this instance, um, but everyone involved has responsibility from the person that pulled the gun from wherever they keep and store the guns to the person that handled it next to the next person to the eventually the actor who receives the gun. They all have a responsibility to make sure that they're doing their own due diligence and backing up everyone else and ensuring that the gun is safe. And yeah, no, he's not solely to blame. I agree with you. They shouldn't pin the entire thing on him, but everyone who handled that gun bears a responsibility in the death of Helena Hutchins. Period. That's the way I stand. I feel absolutely terrible that Alec Baldwin is having to go through this aftermath with having killed somebody. I don't think he intentionally meant to do it. I do think it was an accident, but because it's an accident, he's having to deal with the mental issues of having taken a life of someone he was very close with, a personal friend. And but he cannot he cannot shy away from the responsibility of the part that he played in her death. And to blame everybody else and claim that it wasn't his, that he didn't pull the trigger is just an outright lie. I've seen the video leading up to the moment just before the gun goes off. His finger is on the trigger. The hammers that there's the type of gun that he has. You have to pull the hammer back and pull the trigger. It's a two action type thing. Where like here and then here, and the gun for the gun to go off. You can hold the trigger and then fan the hammer and fire the gun that way, which is how they would do it in the shootouts. They would like pull the gun out, they would pull the hold the trigger, and then they would just fan the hammer, and that would cause the drum to roll around. And each time the hammer would come down, it would pop off around. So it's very different from. Um, I always keep this with me because I don't trust anybody. But it's very different from, say, like my Glock, which doesn't have a hammer. It's all internalized structure, so it's essentially single action. You just pull the trigger and it goes off. So the there's it's just ridiculous that he keeps going out there and doing these interviews, um,
I think it's a
saying something
self-preservation
completely
thing
opposite.
for himself. It's like very selfish for him to do, but
Hmm.
I think he's just trying to distance himself as far away from the situation as possible. I mean, there's a part of you that's just like, dude, just own up to it, move on, stop talking about it.
Yep.
At the same time, everything that he's doing, his actions, what he's saying, it's all someone who's just trying to distance themselves from it, not
Yeah.
taking a responsibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the other thing. I was wondering, like like from what I've seen, like when I watch Keanu Reeves train and stuff, from what I've
Hmm.
seen when actors have guns or like in his situation, uh, they they check the guns.
Hmm.
Like if a gun's handed to you, it's just checked
Yep.
out of like it's a like the first thing you do
Yep.
before you
Yeah.
start handling it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Because there's actually a video out there, and I brought up Will Smith because there's a specific video that comes out where like they all get to like he goes in there, and then like the crew that he's with, they get to pick out their guns for the scene, and that's going to be like their weapon. And uh, one of the other actors or stuntmen, I'm not exactly sure who he was because I haven't seen the last few Will Smith movies. Um, Picks up a gun and just starts looking at it and just starts like, doing this, with it. And Will Smith just immediately like grabs the gun and puts his hand on it and then takes it away from him and then checks it. Like he pulls the slide back just like I did, looks at it, makes sure it's clear, and then hands it back. He goes, "Always make sure it's safe. Always make sure it's safe." And it was instantaneous. Like as soon as he saw improper handling of a weapon, he stopped him, checked it himself, and then handed it to the guy with the slide open so that he could see that it was safe. And yeah, that it's he's not solely responsible. I don't think he's the only one to blame. Everyone involved in that is a problem there. So
And plus, you have all these people on set, and I think that was the other thing was you have all these people on set, and no one wants to take blame for it, you know. And they're like, they saw that he didn't check the gun. Like, was there anyone like the safety director, or was there someone else like, hey, we need to check that before we go any further? But then when I was looking into it, they said that they were severely understaffed.
mhm,
That the people, like one of the young women that was part of that, of handling the guns and things like that, said that
mhm,
like she had no voice. So
mhm,
like even if something was mentioned, like, hey, we have a safety issue, it was ignored.
mhm.
And on that point, like, isn't Alec Baldwin one of the producers? Like, is that part of his,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
no, no, that's
he
true.
encouraged that kind of culture
Yeah, and
of,
so that young woman that you're talking about, she's the armorer. Like so she was in charge of all the weapons, and she was actually involved in she was in a production just before that where somebody did get injured from one of the weapons that, and it was a safety issue. I think that was directly, I don't think they found fault for it, but she was involved in that. So she's hyper aware of safety. So I tend to believe her that that if she saw any safety concerns there on set, she would have brought it up and attempted to get that corrected because there was an issue on a production that she was a part of just prior to that one. So yeah, yeah, that's the other thing too. He's the producer. Ultimately, he's responsible for making sure that they have everything that they need so that they're at the bare minimum of uh, what is required for a safe environment on set. So yeah.
so just to add on to that, the article that I read when he said that, I guess the interviewer was like, well, you were one of the producers, right? And he goes, well, yeah, but there's several of us. And as far as culpability, like apparently his was like down on the, like the lower level, like just still just trying to
Hmm.
wiggle his way out of it. It
Yep.
sounded like,
Yep.
uh,
Yep. Agree. Agree. So we're coming up close on time, so I want to jump real quick to I want to talk about this first, Bill Paxton. I had no idea about this, but you said you remember this a little bit from when they announced that when he passed away uh, from his stroke. So Bill Paxton's family settles wrongful death lawsuit with Los Angeles Hospital. That article caught me completely off guard because I had no idea that there was even a lawsuit against the hospital or that there was anything um, sort of alluded to being there being an issue regarding a surgery that he had uh, being the cause for his heart attack, and that surprised me. So essentially, with this, um, Bill Paxton, if you didn't know, uh, passed away back in 2017 from a stroke due to complications from a surgery that I'm just finding out from a surgery that he had to replace a valve, probably like a stent replacement. Is that the same thing? I'm not very caught up
uh,
on. I don't know.
But what I that's funny. I work in surgery, but I don't do cardiovascular.
Oh.
But yeah, he had issues with his heart. And apparently it's from he had rheumatic fever when he was younger,
Hmm.
and it caused some issues. So he knew he had heart issues that he would have to eventually
Yep.
get taken care of in his adult life. Um, and so yeah, he went in to do the surgery, but apparently, and yes, they had the surgery. There's complications during the surgery from from one of the art. It was really hard to find information on this, by the way, guys. But yeah, there's complications from the surgery, and they said that when the complications arise, the surgeon actually wasn't in the OR anymore. He had left. And apparently there was a delay between when the surgeon was notified, like, hey, we have an issue going on. So that there was a delay in him returning back to surgery. And from what I understand, there's a second procedure that needed to be done due to the complications he was having.
Hmm.
And from then on, and it's not, it's common enough that it does happen, but it's just rare.
Hmm.
Uh, but because due to a surgery, he ended up having a stroke, and from what the family says, a substandard care.
Hmm.
Also, they said that the surgeon um, was doing a procedure that he wasn't, I guess, experienced in, and the
Mm.
family was unaware of that.
Mhm.
And um, that was part of the reason why they sued, was because the surgeon was doing something that he wasn't experienced in,
Mhm.
that he didn't go over the risk and hazards of having the surgery, of this type of surgery, and then just substandard care from then on out. So where like Bill Paxton, I guess, could have still had a chance to live if they had followed certain procedures and protocols, and if things were followed, like if things were
Mhm.
happened the way they were supposed to happen. Um, that's how I interpreted the article.
Okay. Yeah, because he
Eh,
went. Okay, okay. Because the article doesn't really go that much into it, but they do say that ultimately it was a stroke that came 11 days after the surgery. So it's okay. So that makes more sense that they would sue the hospital if there was stuff that happened during the actual surgery itself that he was primarily there for. And it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much. I mean, obviously, you want the most experienced doctor performing the surgeries, but everybody's got to start somewhere. It's unfortunate, an unfortunate reality to kind of go across, you know. But
it's
I
one of
guess.
those situations where I guess the family, or maybe I don't know, because I don't know how the doctor present. There's so much that you don't know. You don't know how the doctor presented the case. You
Mhm.
don't know if he was talking to, the patient and saying, okay, this is what we can do, or this is a new procedure, just so you know, going into it. Like I don't know how much, Bill Paxton was aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
Like there could have been a new procedure going around that's more beneficial, it's better. But there's not a whole lot of people experienced in it, but this is our best bet. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's
No.
difficult. There's a lot of
I.
things that go on in surgery behind the scenes that I think a lot of people don't know about. And that's probably, I don't know if that's good or bad,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. From what you've told me, yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Yeah, that was super sad. I loved Bill. Um, Ever since Twister, I think is when I really became like a huge fan of Bill Paxton. And then um, after that, there was a oh man, there was an independent film that he did out of Texas about gypsies, traveling gypsies, and that was such a great movie. Basically, like these traveling gypsies would go around and they would like all they would tell people that like, hey, I can redo your driveway or whatever. I can retar your driveway so it looks all nice. And but all they had was like all it was like a bunch of spray paint. So they would just spray paint the they would do a cheap spray paint over a driveway, and then it would start to run as it wasn't even like the right kind. So as soon as it started raining, it would mix and then start to run down the street. But these people would pay like 1100 bucks or something like that to get their driveway refinished. And this is like based on true
Con artist.
stories. Like there's
Yeah.
actual traveling gypsies that would do this stuff. But yeah, it was a really good movie. And then I found out that he was in Terminator. He's actually one of the punks that Arnold Schwarzenegger beats up in the beginning of the movie when he comes in and he's like, "I need your clothes, I need your boots, shirts, your shoes." your pants, give me your wallet. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what he says, but yeah, Bill Paxton's like it's like one of his first roles. He's the guy with like the mohawk that gets beat up. He's very funny, but yeah, that was really really sad. And then just real quick, I want to touch on this. I just want to say a few things about this. I think this guy's an absolute piece of shit. I don't agree with anything that he says. He thinks women aren't he he doesn't basically he thinks women are less than human is his perspective, and he tries to chalk up his absolute shit takes and ideas as him just being a realist from what you've told me and reading into this. The only reason why I know about this guy is because every time one of his stupid videos pops up on TikTok, Bethany's like, "What do you think about this?" And then she shows it to me, and I'm like, "Well, that's an absolutely stupid fucking position to take. Like that's disgusting. I can't stand people like this." He's like Russell Crowe, you know, just absolute terrible human being. But the issue that I take with this is him being removed from social media. Like if he gets brought to trial for the allegations that he has in the UK, he's allegedly committed rape, then he needs to stand trial and he needs to face that. The problem is this dude's got so much fucking money, he just jet sets and moves to a different country to avoid being picked up and extradited to stand trial for his crimes. So, but I don't know if like it's charges, but I don't know if there's an actual like international warrant out for his arrest. I don't care that much. But if there's something illegal that he's done, then absolutely he needs to face the consequences for that. But as far as like being removed from social media, I don't think Alex Jones should have been removed from social media. I don't think Trump should have been removed from Twitter. I don't think that any liberal, like I would name a liberal or somebody on the left that's been removed from social media, but I have a hard time finding anybody that has. I don't know about you. Have you found anybody, Tam?
I don't really look into it.
Yeah,
I
me
don't even know
neither.
who that guy is.
Yeah, he's a
I've never heard of him.
yeah, he's an MMA fighter, but he's garnered some attention lately because he just like he says things like women have to maintain their like stuff along the lines that women have to maintain their virginity because uh your value as a your value as a woman goes down with each person you sleep with or each child that you have. Like the moment you have a child, you're basically worthless. Like he doesn't want any like that's the way he feels about women. And shit like that really really pisses me off. But would I kick him off? Like if I had my own social media platform, would I kick him off for those viewpoints? No, because I believe in the First Amendment. And the great thing about the First Amendment is that everyone is free to say whatever stupid, dumb fuck ideas that they have, and we get to listen to it and then judge that person for their stupid, dumb fuck ideas that they felt super confident telling everybody in public. So, you know what I mean? So, I
Everyone's
don't
allowed to their own opinion. Yes.
exactly. Exactly. It might be a disgusting opinion. It might be a great opinion. But the point is, you should be allowed to voice that opinion. So I don't agree with this. I'm not going to defend him as a individual. His opinions and his thoughts are reprehensible. Uh, I don't give a fuck about him, but I care about this because nobody should be removed from public spaces. That's the way I view Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. All these places are public forums for uh, public discourse. We should be able to allow. We should be allowed to talk to each other. We should be able to do that. If an individual wants to block you or mute you or not interact with you, that's the individual's choice. The platforms themselves shouldn't be making that decision for us, and neither should the government. So that's the way I stand on that. But I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Since you don't really know that much about him, yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, Like I've never run across on his TikToks, and I guess maybe it's just the content that I view.
Hmm.
It doesn't pop up on my feed, but I don't know. Yeah, if you have an opinion like that, I almost kind of want them to keep them on social media because everything that we're doing is watched,
Hmm.
and people who identify with him and who share those viewpoints, I'd rather someone know that.
Yeah,
Like, but if you block those opinions, if you block those viewpoints, and the audience goes away, it's like, I don't know.
yeah.
There's a certain part of me that, like, it kind of sucks that we're in this environment now where everything we do and say is watched. Like everything, like my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everything's curated to things that I'm interested in. So I like that because, like, it helps me connect with other people who view the same things and who are into the same things that I'm in.
Hmm.
But then, like, I think about all the, like, dark things that are going on that people are watching, like, videos or like these opinions that are misogynistic or whatever. They have their own community
Hmm.
that they build, and, like, I don't know. I think it's, in a way, it's good to keep tabs on that.
Yeah,
It's good to keep tabs on people's history, on what they're viewing, on
yeah.
what they're
And
doing,
I
who
think
they're
the
following.
I understand why tech companies do what they do as far as like algorithmic trending. Like, so things that you like to see, things that you are interested in, they try to put more of that stuff into your news feed. So they're almost like curating the content that you're getting.
Yeah, it's all to keep you online as long as possible, to keep you on that
Mhm.
whatever app for as long as possible.
Right, right,
Like
right,
it's
right. But the problem I have with that is with that algorithmic trending is it does create these like little individual bubbles where you can have these like groups like I don't know, m- like maps for posterity. And if you don't know what a map is, then look it up. It's basically um it's a it's a it's a s- it's an alternative to calling yourself a kitty lover, you know? Like that's what a map is. A minor attracted person. Like they came up with the term to make themselves seem less harmful, but essentially they're still the same
oh,
thing. So,
okay.
um, so like you have that algorithmic trending, and what it does is it puts those people into a group so that they find themselves and they have this like little support group, whereas before these people were too afraid to voice their opinions, and they were like isolated and shunned from community because it's a reprehensible fucking uh thing about you, you know? Like children should be protected. Children should be um, raised to become productive people in society because if you don't do that, then your child becomes a menace. Like you end up with a terrible adult. You raise terrible children, they become terrible adults, and then they're out there creating terrible things or doing terrible things to other people. Children should be protected and nurtured, not fucked. So uh, th- th- I have an issue with that. I think it should be a little bit more open. I think we should be a little bit more in control of what we say and do. And I think that ultimately social media is going to be the downfall of Western civilization because these reprehensible groups are finding strength in numbers and they're changing the discourse of society, and it's 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 not a slippery slope anymore. It's a fucking elevator shaft down to the bottom, and we need to be more aware of this growing plague of ideals like Andrew Tate or the individuals that I just mentioned. Uh, shouldn't that shit like that shouldn't be normalized. It should be stigmatized, stay stigmatized, and kept away from the whole of society. It should never be accepted. Misogyny should never be accepted. Maps should never be accepted. Like, I'm sorry, you're not a fucking unique butterfly. You're a disgusting human being. You need to be treated that way. And that's my thoughts on it. Um, I'm strongly opinionated. Sorry, Tim.
No, I know there's a dark side to social media, of course, or the fact that we're all connected, but then there's another part of it where you have people all over the world connected to the internet, and I feel like there's a potential for this global consciousness to occur to
Hmm.
where like good people like they have this community that they'll find each other, that they'll, I don't know. Like I honestly feel like the connection that we have with everyone anywhere,
Hmm.
uh, I feel like it'll just grow stronger. And I feel like
Yeah.
even though there's this dark side, I feel like it's more bright. I feel like there's more good than bad.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm glad you have that point of view, and I'm because it that gives me hope that there are more individuals like you that are looking towards the positive sides of what social media does. Um, and those things should be encouraged because there are good things that happen on social media. I don't know if you've seen her, but her name is Nina Infinity on YouTube, and on Fridays she does this good news, uh, or it's called Infinite Hope, and it's just nothing but positive news, like people going out of the way to help somebody else, people stepping up. She covered the who was it? That gentleman that the pizza delivery driver who was driving by that house and saw that it was on fire, and he just stopped. He stopped his car, went back, and he heard people inside. He busted into the house, found a bunch of kids in there on the second floor, help them get out of the house, and they were like, we're still missing so and so, like one of the kids was still missing. So he goes back in to look for the kid, and he goes back upstairs. He's looking around. He can't find the child. Eventually he ends up finding the child, but he can't get out of the house through the first floor because the fire has completely consumed it. So he breaks a window and protects the child and jumps out of the window with the child in his arms. He ends up cutting his arm pretty badly, and but he ends up rescuing that whole family. What had happened was the oldest daughter, who was a teenager, I think she was her late teens. She was there babysitting the kids that the fire broke out, and it just got out of control before she could do anything. The parents were out having a parents' night, get little date night for the parents, and that it was just there's not reading that story and hearing what happened. There's not a doubt in my mind that that whole family would have been wiped out. But she covers stories like that, um, just people doing good things and being good people, and that show um, is probably the only thing that keeps me from going absolutely mad at some of this other crap that I see all over the internet. So yeah, I have a pretty I wouldn't say it's jaded, but it's um, I think I'm trying to keep a broad perspective on what is social media. There are really great things, like you said, that do happen. There are communities that come along, but there's a dark side of it, and I we can't just let it stay in the dark because of it. It just keeps growing and growing and growing, and eventually it becomes a problem that we're going to have to address in some way. So,
Mhm,
but yeah, no, we went long. So I apologize for stretching that out so long, but that was a good show. I think we got a lot of topics out of the way.
mhm.
Is there anything that you want to plug? Uh, Anything you want to push at all? Is there anything you got coming up you want people to check out?
No.
All right.
I keep all my work on the down low.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, you guys can find me on Giggles and Bits. It's my birthday weekend. I'm turning the big 3-8. Uh, I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
3-8.
38.
Yep. I'm finally gonna catch up to my metabolic age. Um,
It's
um,
wild getting older. You're
it
right.
is.
I forget the number. I didn't think
Yeah.
I'd ever get to that point.
Yeah.
At a certain time, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. I just stopped counting and just kept existing.
For the
But
best. Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, it'll be so that's what's I got going on. I plan to get in some more gaming, thanks to you, uh, Tam. I got this sweet mouse with the 12 button MMORPG keys on the side. I freaking love this because now I can keep my this hand on the keyboard and my directions, and then I can move the camera and use my actions on the other one. So it's very nice. It's very convenient. I played a little bit last night. I might stream tonight a little bit of that. Guild Wars is going to be coming to Steam soon, so I expect a lot of people to be interested in that. So join me if you see me jumping on that, and you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. What a great Saturday afternoon, and what a wonderful conversation we had, Tam.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.